From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Tonight, security stakeholders identified 3 Boko Haram strongholds in Borno State, with Governor Zulum promising better security in the northeast. Inspector General of Police orders clampdown on owners of prohibited arms ahead of Edo and Ondo state governorship elections. Churches in Ogun and Ekiti states reopen after 5 months of COVID-19 lockdown. And global COVID-19 cases reached 21 million, with death toll exceeding 755,000, just as the WHO records highest daily increase in coronavirus. Plus sports stories. 3 flashpoints have been identified as the strongholds of the Boko Haram insurgents. They are the Lake Chad fringes, Sambisa Forest, and the Mandara Mountains, all located in Borno State. This formed part of the discussion at the week-long engagements between service chiefs and other stakeholders in the northeast, in line with the directive of the president. After the meeting, Governor Babagana Zulum said the president has assured the people of Borno State, and indeed the northeastern sub-region, that he will do everything possible within reach to ensure that lives and property of people living in Borno State are secured.
The President has assured the people of Borno State and indeed the northeastern sub-region that he will do everything possible within his reach to ensure that lives and properties of the people living in Borno State are being secured. Especially we have discussed on the issue of strengthening security in the fringes of the Lake Chad, in the Mantra Mountain, as well as in the Sambisa Forest. And I think my meeting with the Chief of Air Staff as well as Chief of Naval Staff and also General Bratai is very promising. I promise to look into the issues of clearing the enclaves of the insurgency in the 3 sites that I have just mentioned. And inshallah, with the renewed commitment of the President and the Service Chief, peace shall reign again in Borno State.
Meanwhile, in Yobe State, gunmen suspected to be Boko Haram insurgents have attacked Mashio community in Funa local government area of the state, abducting the village head and his son. The acting chairman of the local government, Abubakar Koleri, confirmed that the attackers struck late last night, shooting sporadically and abducting Alhaji Issa Maibuba and his son. The state police authorities say the son of the village head later escaped from the gunmen's hideout in the early hours of today, while his father is still held captive. The statement from the police says the command of the force is making efforts to rescue the traditional ruler unhurt. The attack comes a few days after 14 people were recently killed by gunmen at Ukuru village in Mariga local government area of Niger State. Now, more special forces have been deployed by the Nigerian Air Force to the area to boost the ongoing fight against bandits and suspected ethnic militia that have been terrorizing residents. The Air Officer Training Command of the Nigerian Air Force, Air Vice Marshal Musa Mokhtar, who addressed the troops before their departure to southern Kaduna today, says they will complement the efforts of the Army under Operation Safe Haven. He, however, warns the troops to respect human rights of the people during the operation.
We will be there as long as it's necessary. And for the figures, it's just that it's just a supporting element. For the number, I can't really actually give you the number, but we're supporting Operation Safe Haven there. And if you recall that just a couple of days back, contingent of the DHQ Special Forces were also moved to Southern Kaduna. So this is just an element to support them. My call and appeal to them is to avail us with all privileged information that is really genuine. Well, it's just a matter of just getting the information, we process it as necessary and find out the true nature of it before we act. But I call on them to please give them the necessary cooperation. They are there to assist the civil populace, not to harm them, and then provide the necessary security that we are supposed to do. I'm just calling on them to remain disciplined, focused, and they respect human rights as they go about their operations. By and large, we intend to also carry out a kind of civil-military relationship, hopefully by next week, by sending a medical team from our medical center, from our medical hospitals here to go and conduct an outreach program in support of the civil populace.
Staying with insecurity in the northeast and in the northern part of the country, the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, is unhappy about what he describes as misinformation about the cause of violence in southern Kaduna. Governor El-Rufai attributes the reasons for the conflict to a combination of ethno-religious intolerance, banditry, and history of impunity. The Kaduna State Governor, who is speaking on our political program, Sunday Politics, explains that the southern Kaduna killings are part of the wider Northwest security challenge.
Security has been a big problem in Northwest Nigeria as well as Northeast. It's not Kaduna State alone, but people seem to think that it's only in southern Kaduna this is happening. When villages are wiped out in Zamfara or Sokoto or Katsina, it is not genocide. But when tribal groups attack each other and kill each other in southern Kaduna, it is genocide, it is land grab, and so on. It's absolute nonsense. It's criminality. We have to face that and deal with it. And I believe that the authorities, the military forces, the police and other security forces are working around the clock to bring an end to it, not only in southern Kaduna, but also in central and northern Kaduna, as well as the entire Northwest. Could say that is centuries of history. We've had several such ethno-religious clashes in the past, starting from 1980-81 in Kasuwa Magani, down to the present day. So, the current one is not new, it's not strange, it's not peculiar to this situation. On average, every 3 years we have these outbreaks. And we've done our best to manage it. In the past, whenever you have this crisis in one part of the state, it tends to spread across the state with Muslims killing Christians, Christians killing Muslims. But we have been successful in containing this outbreak since we came into office.
A man allegedly held captive in a room by his father for 15 years has been rescued by the police in Kano State. This has come in less than 1 week after a man held for 7 years by his father and stepmother was also rescued in the state. Police say the 33-year-old victim was rescued at Sheka Unguwar Fulani area of Kano and has since been moved to the hospital while the incident is being investigated. Staying with security matters, but this time related to politics, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has ordered commissioners of police across Nigeria to identify, isolate, disarm, arrest and prosecute individuals or groups found in possession of prohibited firearms. The police chief said in a statement the orders are part of the preparations for the governorship elections coming up in Edo and Ondo states, as well as efforts by the police high command to curb the proliferation of prohibited firearms in the country. The Independent National Electoral Commission has scheduled the Edo and Ondo elections for September 19th and October 10th, respectively. The statement adds that the directive was necessary against the backdrop of the arming and movement of political thugs and other criminal elements across the country. Meanwhile, the political climate in Edo State is getting intense as parties continue to canvass for votes. Today, the People's Democratic Party says it has no doubts about winning the September 19th governorship election as its campaign trail berths in Edo North. The party also briefed journalists at the campaign office in the state capital, Benin City, where it alleged that the opposition is printing permanent voter cards for use in the governorship poll.
The 2020 Edo Governorship Campaign Office of the PDP in Benin City, the state capital, is the venue of a press conference clearly important to the party. It alerts the public to some information it allegedly has.
We are aware of the criminal printing of PVCs by APC in some of the offices here in Edo State. The security agencies have been alerted. Unfortunately, they are not doing anything. We've told them the address where this thing is taking place. We've told them the people doing this thing. But till this minute, nobody has been arrested.
At about the same time up north, the PDP campaign trail completes the Northern Senatorial District campaigns in Okpila, Esako East local government area. The drive through different wards in Edo North highlights road infrastructure issues. The governorship candidate, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, vows that this challenge will be taken up once he assumes another term in office.
Within 24 months, if I not tie this road, make una not call me governor.
Field Time Production.
If we not be Godwin, we not go vote any other person. We not go vote.
How long be the road? They say now only 12.7 kilometers. That one far. Since this place don't start, when I mean say government never put road come here. Anyway, make we leave that. Make we leave that in the past. Because this campaign is about going forward.
For the PDP, the large crowd witnessed throughout the electioneering in Edo North shows clearly where the heart of the electorate lies. Their appeal to the governorship election arbiter, INEC, is to ensure that the votes count on September 19, 2020.
We continue with our updates on COVID-19 pandemic. Churches in Ogun and Ekiti states reopened today after 5 months of closure due to the spread of COVID-19. The reopening follows the lifting of the ban on all public religious activities as part of measures targeted by state governments at reducing the community spread and flattening the curve of the pandemic.
As early as 7 a.m., worshippers in their numbers thronged various churches in Abeokuta, the Ogun State for service after about 5 months of ban on religious activities due to coronavirus pandemic. As stated by authorities and expected of worshippers, safety protocols like hand washing, temperature check, and physical distancing are strictly complied with.
God. I feel very great. We thank God that all this while we have been at home, locked down, but now that we are back in church, it's a beautiful thing to be in church, in the presence of the Most High God. You know, God said we should not forsake the assembling together of one another. So coming together itself is something that is great, even for us.
People must tread with caution, follow the guidelines and the rules of NCDC, follow whatever be the government regulations. I said somebody said, obey the Lord and obey the law.
In Ekiti State, the mood is the same as some worshippers display emotions in worship. Only 2 hours of time in church is approved, and these worshippers are all out to make the best of it. Church leaders and congregants welcome the new development, but want authorities to relax some of the rules.
We are happy that the church is back, but the joy is not complete.
The joy is not complete because it is not convenient speaking with this thing. Preaching with mouth covered is another trouble for church leaders. And the joy is not complete because 40% of my parishioners are not here.
State governments across the country are gradually reopening and reactivating life as it was before COVID-19, and also appealing to religious and business communities to stick to the rules to further curb the spread of COVID-19.
And in part two, after the break, residents of a community in Enugu State demand justice over the murder of their daughter, who was reportedly raped to death. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Security stakeholders identify 3 Boko Haram strongholds in Borno State, with Governor Zulum promising better security in the northeast. Inspector General of Police orders clampdown on owners of prohibited items ahead of Edo and Ondo States governorship elections. Churches in Ogun and Ekiti states reopen after 5 months of COVID-19 lockdown. And global COVID-19 cases reach 21 million, with death toll exceeding 755,000, just as the WHO records its highest daily increase in coronavirus cases, that is. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via our smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. We got some pictures and videos from our eyewitness on the platform. We begin with this one from Ibafo in Ogun State, showing men at work during a palliative renovation on the road. According to the eyewitness, it is the first of such on the road. He laments how residents have had to cope with floods whenever it rains, and commends the state government's efforts in asking for community markets so the traders will not have to display their wares on the road. We have a set of pictures within the same Ibafo community in Ogun State. It shows the pedestrian bridge taken over by beggars and traders. Eyewitness laments how some pedestrians refuse to use the bridge because of the presence of the beggars. He wants something done about it. Here's where our final image is coming from. It's Summit Junction 1 at Daba, Delta State. According to our eyewitness, it is what residents have had to cope with whenever it rains. The eyewitness wants the state government to address the challenge, which he says is not connected to poor drainage system. Well, thank you for sending in those pictures, and please keep them coming. Some residents of Imufu, Enugu, Ezike, and in Iweze North Local Government Area are demanding justice for their daughter, Ngozi Eze, who was allegedly raped to death on March 26, 2019. Ngozi was said to have left her home on the fateful day for extramural lessons in preparation for university matriculation examinations. Here's more.
It's a solemn morning here at St. Joseph's Catholic Church, Imofu in Iweze, local government area of Enugu State, as residents gather to pay the last respects to their daughter, Ngozi Eze, who was allegedly raped to death on March 26, 2019. Outside the church, the youths are dressed in black with painted faces marching in solidarity as they chant, "Murder is an abomination." At home, emotions pour out, Ngozi's mother and siblings wailing uncontrollably as her body is buried. Ngozi, who would have clocked 21 on July the 21st this year, was last seen here at the Township School 1, Ogurute, where she came for extramural lessons in preparation for her JAMB examination. She did not return home, and the next day her body was found behind the school bush.
When we saw her, they were there. She was there, half naked, lying face up.
Both parents are devastated as they recount their last moments with her.
I bought JAMB and nursing form for her and sent her down to the village from Abuja for extramural lessons. I called her severally the day she died and she didn't pick up. I called her dad the next day and he told me how they found her naked in the bush after a 24-hour search.
I am not happy. I'm truly devastated. This my daughter came home from Abuja for extramural classes. It's unbearable.
The first suspect is her suitor, who threatened her life after she rejected his proposal. The accused was discharged for lack of evidence to back the allegations, and the Enugu State Police Command failed to conduct an autopsy about 17 months later. Residents believe the delay may have cost them justice.
The person we got at Onitsha, they told us to go and they gave us the name, and they said we should go and arrest them. We used the neighborhood watch people from here to Onitsha to arrest the man and keep him at the Fege police station. We still paid the police money and hired bus for them to go and bring the man, the suspect they say we should arrest. So it was like that. They didn't do any serious work.
Let the justice be done. Let the fact. We want to see that police do the normal things. The normal thing is that they will review and tell us what really happens.
The police admit to the delay, saying they lack the wherewithal to carry out such a task.
There were delays, like you mentioned, simply because of both administrative and otherwise hindrance and all that.
Although the suspect is acquitted and justice is yet to be served, one of the things Ngozi's parents want is for the perpetrator to be brought to book to serve as deterrent to others.
The heads of maritime agencies in Nigeria have been comparing notes on how to achieve a 24-hour port operations and efficiency. At a meeting held in Lagos, the various agency heads, which include NIMASA, NPA, and others, have set up a committee to work out modalities of achieving maritime safety and security, port efficiency, intermodal transportation, as well as synergy among agencies in the sector.
A different approach seemed to have been struck in addressing the lingering Apapa gridlock and port operations efficiency. In what CEO's Forum, chief executives of various maritime agencies are meeting in this room to think solutions for the blue economy. Top of the resolution reached after a 5-hour closed-door meeting is the quick commencement of a 24-hour port operation. The committee has also mandated Nigeria Inland Waterways to come up with action plan in how to commence delivery of containers from Western Port to Onitsha, thereby simplifying the cost of cargo transfer to the east.
We have certain consignees that have an average of 1,000 containers coming to the port every month. And this consignee is willing and very anxious to have those cargo moved from Lagos to Onitsha using barges. So that is what we need to do to solve the issue of Apapa gridlock.
As its contribution to the multi-agency approach, the Nigerian Customs Service is to fast-track the auctioning of overtime cargo in the port location and in the government warehouse, which are already 90% full, and also expand to other locations because they say the port can be a storage place.
For every train trip, 38 trailers or trucks are taken out of the road. If we deploy barges, it means about 100 trucks are also off the road. So the chaos, the so-called gridlock, is a function of inefficiency and lack of planning. But here we are having synergy. All the three modes of transportation will be deployed effectively.
An intermodal evacuation system remains key, but not without discussing safety. So, the CEOs have agreed that NIMASA should go ahead to remove wrecks within the Nigerian territorial waters.
We already made our own presentation to the Federal Ministry of Transportation. I think by now, the approval for that is supposed to be with Bureau of Public Procurement. After that, they will give us no objection. We will have to go to the Federal Executive Council and then obtain approval to commence the removal of wrecks.
The meeting had in attendance Executive Secretary, Nigeria Shippers Council, Managing Director, Nigeria Ports Authority, Director General, Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, the Managing Director, National Inward Waterways Authority, and Rector, Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oron, retired Commodore Duja Efedua. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
In Imo State, Governor Hope Uzodinma has inaugurated 6 newly completed crucial roads in Owerri, the state capital, in line with his administration's mantra of rehabilitation, reconstruction, and recovery. He says his administration remains committed to improving the economy of Imo State and providing an enabling environment for ease of doing business.
It's a month of road inauguration in Owerri, the Imo State capital. A total of 8 roads which have been under rehabilitation and reconstruction in the last 7 months are now being inaugurated by Governor Hope Uzodinma. First is the Douglas Road, where he is received by the residents.
It is my pleasure and honor to commission this road as completed by Ministry of Works, and to pray the Almighty God to grant us His mercies, and users of this road benefit from our prosperity agenda. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Some of the residents applaud the state government for coming to their rescue within 7 months of assuming office.
The infrastructural development by Governor Hope Uzodinma cannot be overemphasized. We are witnessing it.
All the villages have linked to this road. So for that reason, we are thanking him for opening up this road for us to use.
The governor then moves to other roads within the city, inaugurating them one after another.
We ask this in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Afterwards, Governor Uzodinma and his team embark on an inspection of the ongoing construction of the 1.8-meter underground tunnel with drainage balloon technology aimed at solving the perennial flooding in Owerri municipality. Former Minister of Labour and Productivity, Emeka Wogu, who is part of the team, commends the governor's giant strides in infrastructural development.
I must commend him for starting on a good footing, without publicity, without propaganda, without putting imaginary projects on billboards. The projects we went to commission today are real projects, traversing all nooks and crannies of the city of Owerri.
Hopefully, when all the other roads under construction are completed, they will be expected to eliminate the twin problems of gridlocks and flooding.
When the news at 10 returns, Ketso community in Niger State seeks federal government's assistance to fast-track their relocation against dangers of flood. Join us again. Welcome back. In the face of a looming flood disaster, residents of Ketso community in Niger State are appealing to the federal government to come to their aid in fast-tracking their relocation to a safer area. Although the state government has acquired a resettlement area in the neighboring community known as Chegama and compensation paid, residents of Ketso communities say they do not have money to begin construction of houses. In our community report tonight, our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports on the plight of the people.
Located in Mokwa local government area of Niger State, about 180 kilometers away from the seat of power, Mina, Ketso community has a population estimated at over 3,000. The community is, however, faced with a long history of perennial flooding. The people of Ketso community are predominantly farmers and fishermen, but flooding has continued to hamper the progress of the community. In 2018, at least 4 children were said to have been killed by flood disaster. Memories of the deaths and losses recorded at that time still linger.
Whenever the rain is here, we can no longer sleep with our 2 eyes closed. Our houses are often flooded and all our farm produce are destroyed. It has been a tough one for us.
The people of Ketso got this land in the 20th century from their neighbors in Chegama for resettlement purposes, but due to non-payment of compensation by the then state government and subsequent governments, they could not relocate. The current administration of Governor Abubakar Bello in 2019, however, finalized the acquisition process for the 54,000 hectares of land after paying compensation worth about 30 million naira to the people of Chegama. In addition, a healthcare facility, a skill acquisition center, and a school have all been constructed at the new site through community efforts with support from the Community Social Development Project (CSDP) and the State Basic Education Board. The ongoing project is also providing job opportunities for youths from both Ketso and Chegama communities who are engaged in the construction work. But in spite of the progress, it appears nothing could be more appealing to the people of Ketso than relocating to their newly found haven. The rains are here again, the rivers are beginning to fill to their brinks, and an impending flood disaster looms in the air.
We are pleading that the government should still come to our aid, because the Ketso community, we wrote a letter on behalf of our community to humanitarian ministry to assist us.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency forecast heavy flooding this year, and Niger State has started witnessing the effects, with at least 13 persons killed recently by flood disaster in Suleja local government area. Many communities, including Ketso, Muregi, among others located in the downstream of rivers Niger and Kaduna, are submerged annually when the rain is at its peak, as the 2 rivers mostly overflow their banks, resulting in deaths and wanton losses. As the people of Ketso community continue to live in fear, imagining what could happen to them when the flood finally comes, they only hope and pray their pleas attract the attention of the federal government without further delay. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
The effect of the coronavirus pandemic has dealt a blow to the creative industry, especially theatre, a medium which cannot satisfy viewers by using technology alone. And that's until the idea of driving theatre came up. It's a culture popular in other climes, but Nigeria had to play catch-up, no thanks to COVID-19, and the National Council for Arts and Culture is leading this initiative with 2 performances in Abuja. We'll see it on Art Review tonight.
There's so much in a name, as cars cruise into the space in the nation's capital Abuja to be part of this first ever drive-in theatre put together by the National Council for Arts and Culture, featuring 2 performances.
Anytime I don't come out, they go take firework and ask me, enter my backyard, come the front back. Only the way I take my 2 and wait for give me. For a wolf, they chop up. Anyway, make a grip them.
The first is Gripam, the comic play written by one of Nigeria's finest wordsmiths, Olarutimi, and now directed by Agozie Ugu, is just what the doctor ordered: laughter, medicine for the soul.
I didn't know the man and wife. You said you criminals. You criminals. You criminals.
There have been a lot of tension, a lot of sad news, a lot of bottled emotions, and there is no other way to make people ease off this tension if not to choose a comedy.
And anybody, when I see on top of this my orange cream, when I say creeper, make it them go like electrician when they come for high tension. Till I left
Upon all the good things they were working for this world, now that's how I want.
I'm gonna see me problem. See this angel. Now you say make I talk anything I want.
Theatre lovers, starved of going to venues, respond to the performances with their horns, a sign of fulfillment.
I think it's a really good idea, actually, and I'm super excited.
We enjoy so far, so good.
And then this performance, titled Nigeria, My Beloved Country, shows the beauty of culture. The artists feel this new norm should be sustained, considering the circumstances.
The value of a country's currency affects the standard and quality of living. A weaker naira not only affects the price of imported goods, it can slow down the rate at which Nigerians get out of poverty. But some economists believe that a weaker naira has some benefits. Should Nigeria's naira be strengthened or weakened? What is most important is what is the real value of the naira. Babajide Ogusanwo, data and information consultant, is with me tonight to share insights on Nigeria's foreign reserves management. Babajide, great to have you here on the News at 10. So the exchange rate of the major foreign currencies against the naira has been volatile at the parallel markets. Is this only due to speculation or panic, or are there other reasons that we're not looking at?
The first is, we need to remember that Nigeria doesn't print dollars. The dollars comes from outside. And at the moment, here's what Nigeria looks like to a lot of investors. But this isn't really the image investors should have. But at the moment, Nigeria looks ugly to investors. So to answer your question, there are 3 things we'll talk about. The first is to look at what is causing the volatility. The second is to look at the implications of the volatility. And finally, we'll look at the solutions. But before then, since we say this is how investors, a lot of investors see Nigeria, there's some good news I want to share and some bad news. So should I start with the good news or the bad news?
I think we could do some good news.
So the good news is the foreign exchange reserves, the foreign reserves as at tonight stands at $36 billion. Relative to May 2015, it was just $29 billion. So if you look at it from that perspective, the foreign reserves has grown by $7 billion. That's some good news. But here's the bad news. The bad news is January 1st, when we said Happy New Year, the foreign exchange balance, gross foreign exchange, was $38.5 billion. In other words, between January to date, foreign reserves has declined by $2.5 billion. Amarachi, here's why this is important. During the same period in 2019, January to July, foreign reserves had increased. During the same period, January to July in 2018, foreign reserves had improved. And so the decline in foreign reserves combined with a lot of what is going on globally makes investors see Nigeria in this way, even though this isn't the right image of Nigeria.
And what is the effect on the economy?
You know, before we look at the effect, we have to be very clear on the cost. Let's identify the problem. And the research shows that there's a 92% correlation, you heard me right, a 92% correlation between how much oil we earn, oil revenue, and our balance in foreign reserves. So I'd like us to take a look at the relationship. Let's take a look at that relationship of how our foreign reserves and oil revenue has been fluctuating at the same pace in the last 5 years. And if you look at that, here's what you'll notice. You notice in 2015, if we look at that, our oil revenue was $8.7 billion in the first quarter of 2015. In that same period, our reserves was $29.8 billion. First quarter 2016, oil revenue declined to $5.7 billion. What happened to oil revenue? Oil revenue also declined to $27.8 billion. And then in the first quarter of 2017, relative to the first quarter of 2016, oil revenue increased from $5.7 billion to $7.7 billion. And what we also noticed was that the balance in the foreign reserves increased during that same period. And that continued in 2018 when our oil revenue for the first quarter of 2018 was $11.7 billion, which was higher than what had happened in the first quarter of 2017. Reserves also increased in that period, and on and on. So we've seen by almost the same rates as oil revenue increases or decreases, our foreign exchange increases and decreases. And so the most recent report shows that in the first quarter of this year, Marachi, what was our oil revenue? Only $8.7 billion. But what does $8.7 billion really mean? That should be our focus. And let me explain it and simplify it this way. If only 10,000 Nigerians requested for $10,000 every day, our earnings from oil revenue only will not be sufficient to give these 10,000 Nigerians that are requesting for only $10,000 every day. They won't be able, our oil revenue will not be sufficient to even pay 10,000 Nigerians $10,000 every day. So that is the real problem we face. But to talk about the implication and why investors see this image whenever they think about Nigeria, there are three types of fear. The very first is there's a fear of what will happen next. And that's because oil revenue is our major source of revenue. The alternative, remittances from friends and families abroad, is also declining. And so with that oil revenue decline and remittance decline, a lot of investors are worried and there's fear about the future of Nigeria. That's the first fear. The second fear is we are paying so much dollars to repay the loans we have taken in foreign currency. Let me explain that also. As at the end of 2015, our foreign debt, the debt of the federal government was only $7.3 billion, only in 2015. As at the end of 2019, foreign debt had tripled to $23 billion. And so how do we pay monies that we have borrowed in dollars? We need dollars to repay. So that is the second fear. Does Nigeria have enough dollar reserve to repay its interest and principal payment? And the final fear is that fear of foreign portfolio investors taking their money to safer places because of the fear of COVID-19. So those are the three principal things that are fueling this fear because oil revenue is declining.
Yeah, but we still need foreign exchange. So what countries can we then rely on for that?
Now, that's a tricky one because what we've seen is countries are going with their own preference first. They are saving themselves first. If we take a look at that evidence that talks about, that shows us which countries did Nigeria get capital from relative in the first quarter of 2019, and if we compare that inflow in the first quarter of 2019 with the first quarter of 2020, we see a significant difference. So let's take a look at the top 10 countries where Nigeria gets money from.
Right.
If you focus on these top 10 countries, you will see that there's a significant difference between countries that we got capital from in the first quarter of 2019 and the countries that we have gotten money from in the first quarter of this year. In summary, the US in the first quarter of last year was the second country that invested in Nigeria. The US has dropped to number 5. So they've moved from rank 2 to rank 5. Switzerland was the 5th country that invested in Nigeria. I'm talking about capital importation. This year, first quarter, Switzerland has moved from rank 5 to rank 10. Belgium was on rank 7 in the first quarter of last year. What position is Belgium now? Belgium is nowhere in the top 10. So in summary, we've seen that all remittances has been a major source of concern, which is affecting how the CBN manages its revenue. But in tonight's analysis, we need to also talk about what are the solutions. And the panel of economists that I spoke to that was headed by the MD of Cowrie Asset, Johnson Chukwu, all agree that if there's one thing that the CBN needs to do, the CBN needs to pull out the rabbits out of the hat. In other words, the CBN now needs to show some sign of force. They need to be able to pull out surprises and show that they are confident about the future of Nigeria. As it is, there's been a lot of quietness from the CBN. The CBN needs to come out and pull the rabbit out of the hat to be able to give a lot of investors confidence about the next direction.
Babajide, thank you again for breaking it down for us tonight. Always a pleasure having you.
I was going to share a story with you about what my grandfather also told me.
You can tell me after.
Pleasure is all mine,
after. Thanks a lot. Still ahead on the news at 10, global COVID-19 cases reached 21 million, with death toll exceeding 755,000, just as the WHO records its highest daily increase in coronavirus cases. Stay with us.
The Channels 24 app means you'll always be in touch with the news. Get the latest local and international stories on the go. And there's our social media platforms for news from around the world. Watch the news live and play videos that matter to you. You can also check the Eyewitness section to report events around you. Just click on the Eyewitness icon and follow the instructions to upload your content. Channels 24 app, the news at your fingertips.
Well, another batch of 72 Nigerian ladies stranded in Lebanon have returned to the country today. The ladies are part of those who featured in a recent viral video where they were seen crying for help. They arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, this afternoon via a Middle East airline. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, has more.
The crew arrived at the international wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at 3 p.m. on Sunday. We were promptly informed by the airport authorities that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who had alerted us to the arrival of the girls, had not informed them of media coverage, and so we could not witness the landing of the plane at 3:45 p.m. Furthermore, this return trip was going to be different from others, as the ladies will not be taken to isolation from the tarmac, but will be allowed to pass through the airport like regular passengers. So we spoke with a few people who boarded the same flight with the ladies, and they told us there were over 200 people on the flight, and that the ladies were separated from the rest of the crew when they landed. They also tell us everyone on the flight was tested for COVID-19 72 hours before they boarded.
I did a test, I did a PCR test, and it was negative. So
when you landed, did they do another test for you?
No, they asked me to go home and do another test. I should do 14 days quarantine, and after that, though they are still holding my passport, so I'll come back in 14 days to take my passport.
She's one of the lucky ones. Her employer in Lebanon paid for her trip back. The 72 ladies are still being screened, and their tickets were paid for by the Lebanese community in Nigeria.
We saw that there are some viral videos going on that they are stranded, and we will never accept that our sisters be stranded in our country.
After over 5 hours, we finally meet the returned ladies.
We really thank all Nigerians. We thank them for their support. God bless Nigerians. God bless them for us.
I regret going to Lebanon because it's not what I'm expecting. So my boss did not pay me my salary. They were beating me. They sent me out, collected my passport. They said they don't care whatever happens to me. They do me as if I'm a ghost. They don't do me as if I'm a human being.
Where I was staying ever since I left my madam's house, it was some Lebanese organization that was taking care of me and like 20 girls. They have been taking care of us. They are so nice to us. Most of them, they are good, but not all. If, unfortunately, you fall on the wrong hand, you will regret coming into this life.
The return of the ladies was a joint effort by the Nigerian and Lebanese governments. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs tells us what's next for the girls.
From here, NEMA will take over. They will take them to Valencia Hotel. That have been provided by the International Organization of Migration through NAPTIP. From there, they will have 3 days in the hotel where the NAPTIP, I understand, is going to do profiling of them, do individual interviews for them, and the reintegration process will commence. They've all dropped their passports here, and NCDC officials were here to take their names and their phone numbers for tracking. So the arrangement is that they are going to do the COVID test, I think, in Valencia Hotel. Then each of them will get the result of their test through their email addresses. They will get the result through their email addresses before they can come back to receive their passport back.
The question as to whether these ladies were trafficked or not still lingers, as the country expects more Nigerian ladies returned from Lebanon in the days to come. For now, work visas for domestic workers from Nigeria to Lebanon have been banned. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
The World Health Organization has recorded its highest daily increase in COVID-19 cases as more than 294,000 people tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. As such, the number of cases around the world has surpassed 21.2 million and is set to still be rising fast. Meanwhile, more than 755,000 people have died from the disease. Here's the day's global update. According to the WHO coronavirus dashboard, COVID-19 cases in the Americas constitute more than half of the global COVID-19 total, with a tally of more than 11.2 million. Europe reported more than 3.73 million cases. Southeast Asia and Eastern Mediterranean reported over 2.97 million and 1.17 million cases respectively. Back in Latin America, production of a COVID-19 vaccine under an agreement between the Mexican and Argentine governments and pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca could begin in the first quarter of 2021. South Korea has accused the leader of a religious sect on Sunday of violating self-isolation rules and obstructing investigations into the country's biggest outbreak of the new coronavirus in 5 months. The country reported 279 new cases, more than double the 103 reported on Friday, with most of the new infections found in and around Seoul. More people in Indonesia are joining phase 3 trials for a potential coronavirus vaccine developed by Chinese company Sinovac Biotech. Over 1,600 volunteers have been recruited. The vaccine was also tested last month in Brazil on more than 9,000 participants. The World Health Organization last week confirmed 6 vaccine candidates in late-stage trials, 3 of whom are from China. The total number of COVID-19 cases in the United States topped 5.35 million on Saturday, according to the Center for Systems Science and Engineering at Johns Hopkins University. The case count rose to over 5.3 million, with the national death toll reaching 169,423 as of 7:31 p.m. local time. By far, the United States remains the worst-hit nation globally, with the highest caseload and death toll. Finally, of the 54 countries in Africa, 13 had each registered more than 10,000 cases of COVID-19 by Saturday, while South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria, and Ghana had reported more than 570,000, 96,000, 48,000, and 41,000 cases respectively. In sports news, reigning Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton mercifully shrugged off tyre and Red Bull concerns to seal a dominant Spanish Grand Prix victory and extend his Formula One championship lead to 37 points. A victory from pole position was the 88th of the Mercedes driver's career and one of the more straightforward, leaving him 3 short of Ferrari great Michael Schumacher's all-time record, 91 wins. Red Bull's Max Verstappen, Hamilton's closest challenger in the championship, finished second, with Valtteri Bottas third for Mercedes and taking the fastest lap. Manchester United are out of the Europa League after Spanish side Sevilla came from behind to reach the final. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side led through Bruno Fernandes' penalty after Marcus Rashford was fouled by Diego Carlos, with Fernandes scoring his 12th goal for the club since his transfer in January. Former Liverpool forward Suso equalised from Sergio Reguilón's cross, and Luuk de Jong scored the winner as United failed to deal with a cross from Jesus Navas. 5-time winners Sevilla will play Inter Milan or Shakhtar Donetsk in Friday's final. And the main news again. The military today promised to wage war on insurgents as stakeholders identify 3 Boko Haram strongholds in Borno State. Governor Babagana Zulum said President Muhammadu Buhari has promised to intensify attack on the insurgents. That's all on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.